Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today's Wednesday, November the 10th. This is episode number 124. I am your host, Rod Bloom. Joining me today is my brother, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how are things going? A little better than last week?
Not quite as fired up this week. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a little bit more fun tonight.
I feel like we have emerged from the bowels of hell and are just feeling a little bit better about the season and about all things Browns. So joining us tonight is our guest, Shelley Harcar. Shelley, how are things going?
Things are going pretty good, Rod.
Excellent. Shelley is a writer for the Grueling Truth. You can follow her at Shelley, SHELLEY 0514 on Twitter. So we have a lot of things to talk about. When we last recorded, the Browns, played that game with Pittsburgh, and we weren't feeling real good about that game and officiating and everything else. The officiating mostly me, but then and then all this stuff came out about OBJ in the locker room and all this, and it seemed like things were getting worse because we really didn't know the extent of everything that was happening. And then the Browns made this move that, we found out that they were going to let OBJ go, and we figured we would find out via the Bengals game, where the problem was, and not that really expecting that one person leaving could fix everything. And I still don't know if it has or not, but man, I just feel like this organization has done since that loss to Pittsburgh has done a complete 180, and not only in the play, but just in the feeling and the optimism for where things are going, because you really felt like if they went down to Cincinnati and took a loss, I think a lot of people would have been ready to just give up on this season. And now things are totally different. So let's start out with the OBJ stuff and let you guys get anything off your chest that you want to talk about with the OBJ. Jeff, I know you had a topic you wanted to throw out on that, so I'm going to let you kick things off with the OBJ talk.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd be happy if we, instead of doing 180's, if we did 10 or 20 degree shifts from week to week. It seems like, like we did a 180 before the Cardinals game, and then we did a 180 before the Denver game, and then we did another 180 for the Pittsburgh game. And every week it's like a roller coaster ride, right? So, yeah, you got to feel really good about the game against the Bengals. The Bengals looked like an organization that was trending in the right direction. They kind of stubbed their toe a little bit against the Jets, but they looked like a quality team coming into this game, and finally it seemed like the Browns had a good game plan and executed pretty well on both sides of the ball. And you know what? OBJ being there or not being there, I don't know how much influence that had on the ability to play the Bengals well this week. That's my concern right now. Is that we're sort of attributing 1 week's worth of success to addition by subtraction, right? That we got rid of the problem, we cut out the tumor, and now we're suddenly cured of cancer, and this word keeps popping up that it sort of is trying to explain and write off the whole problem with the Browns offense, this idea of freelancing. Like no player in the NFL does any freelancing other than Odell Beckham. I think it's a little bit too convenient an excuse to say that 6 guys couldn't catch the ball against the Steelers because Odell's not running the right routes. You guys can disagree with me on that, but as far as playing the game and executing on offense, I'm not convinced that was the problem. Now, there certainly is a locker room component to that, and it's yet to be determined, how sustainable this turnaround in locker room environment is with Odell moving on. So we'll see if we do another 180 this week. Then we'll have to talk about maybe there are some other issues.
So Shelley, how much of this do you attribute to, just the Browns play on Sunday? How much do you attribute to Odell not being there, not playing, or do you think it's something else? I'm wondering if it's just maybe the team rallying around, around the dysfunction and things like that. The team kind of rallying behind the coach or behind Baker.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of rallying to be said for what happened. I agree with Jeff. Odell isn't, the sum total of every problem that team encounters, but the locker room culture, sure. I mean, I never disliked the guy, but clearly he didn't fit where we were, and that's fine. But I think this week will be a bigger test. Like you said, are we going to see another 180? God help us. No, I'm pretty dizzy already. Honestly, this is why I don't go to Cedar Point anymore. But yeah, I think, some of it, sure. It's all those intangibles that we can't even begin to grasp. I read an interview with Myles Garrett, who was one of the first guys to reach out to Odell after everything went down. And he even said, there's stuff that's never going to be said. There's stuff that doesn't need to be talked about, wish him well. And so, yeah, I think some of it, you're in a bad situation and you find your fall guy and he's gone. Now you all can go, oh, good. Okay. Sigh of relief. And I loved how we played. That was the best I've seen us play in a long time. But yeah, I don't think it's all on Odell being there, being not there. But, honestly, if we cut him every week and we get those results, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I think more of it was just the team coming together and saying, okay, look, we've been through all this crap this week. Let's put our heads together and play like we mean it.
Yeah, and Kevin Stefanski said that the team was pretty much playing for their lives in that game, beforehand, that they needed a win in that game. So maybe it's as simple as the team knowing that they needed to win that game. So maybe it really had nothing to do with Odell. Maybe it would have been the same outcome if he was, there and, and played his few snaps and Baker didn't throw the ball to him or whatever happened. And maybe it didn't make any difference. Maybe they were just at a point in the season where they were, due for a big game based on what had happened against Pittsburgh. So, it is hard. It is definitely hard to say. Jeff, I'm going to agree with you on the freelancing. Guys do it. And you can't blame Odell for other guys dropping the ball. You can't blame Odell for all the penalties. But if there's been if this helps to clear up some locker room dysfunction, then, it's definitely a positive for the Browns. And if they can keep playing like they did Sunday, that's definitely what we want to see. So let's go.
My concern with that, real quick, Rod, is if what contributed to this win was them finding a sense of urgency, what do we have to do week in and week out? And Shelley obviously joked about let's cut somebody else, but is that what it is going to take for them to have a sense of urgency week in and week out?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Stefanski preaching the let's go 1-0 this week, seemed to work last season. Maybe, maybe you got to change the message,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you certainly can't bring a new coach in every other season and expect to find success. So you got to find a way.
Tried.
Well, I think we've tried it. Yeah.
We have. Yeah, that's been done.
Yeah.
Done to
maybe
death.
we can bring in some guy fresh out of off a high school team or something, see what he can do. Yeah. So let's go a little more in depth on the Bengals game. 41-16. And by the way, going back to our predictions, I picked against the Browns the first time ever, and I was wrong, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, hey, maybe that's the motivator. If you had just picked against the Browns a few more times, maybe they'd have won a few more games.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to pick the Pats this week. Then I might just start picking against them every week. I just don't see it. I just don't see a win this week. If they win, I'm happy.
Oh right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was really a complete game.
Mm-hmm.
They still had some penalties, and I don't have the total penalties in front of me. They still had some procedural problems and stuff in the game, but overall, man, they just they threw the ball well. Baker played well. Nick Chubb was Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the defense, to me, I mean, the offense obviously scored a lot of points, but which we haven't seen in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But the defense, to hold the Bengals to 16 with the kind of scoring they've been doing, and some of the issues we've seen on from the defense over the course of the season, here and there against teams that have been able to score. I thought the defense played really well.
I think this was absolutely a win on behalf of our defense. And by the way, the Browns had 10 penalties to the Bengals 4. The difference in this game, though, to really boil it down, was the 3 turnovers for the Bengals. The Ward interception, the pick 6 by Denzel Ward on the Bengals' first drive was a 14-point swing before the game really even started.
And it just set a tone too.
Right.
It did, yeah. And I think the defense, rose to the occasion the rest of the game, creating turnovers and
mm-hmm.
really good field position for the offense, which is the formula that our offense needed badly. Our offense needed good field position, the ability to score quick, and that's what you saw happen. We had one sustained drive in that game. I think it was our first scoring drive. I think was 7 or 8 plays, 75 yards. But beyond that, I mean, we were pretty much quick hits. The DPJ touchdown.
Yeah.
The Chubb run in the third quarter. Those were all just really huge plays that were quick scoring, that put points on the board in a hurry as a result of really good field position, I think. And there was even a couple instances where we had great field position. We just ended up with a field goal,
Right.
But the difference in the game was, that the Bengals turned the ball over to us.
Yeah, but help me out here. The Browns, they put up a little graphic saying that, this is the first time a team had scored on play, on a defensive play, a run and a pass over 60 yards since 60 something, I think.
1967.
67, yeah. And the thing that gets me is the Browns did that, and if you go back their last several games, now you can help me out here, Jeff, but it seems to me that the Browns haven't scored from more than 5 or 10 yards out in weeks with this offense.
That's true.
At least that's how
true.
it feels. And for them to put up 3 long touchdowns like that was such a juxtaposition against what they've been doing. It's just like changed the way you look at this team of what they're able to do now.
Right. Well, I think that's a microcosm of the whole team. I mean, for instance, when in the third quarter, when just before Chubb had that 70-yard run for a touchdown, I think that was that was the second play of the drive. But
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
I had made a comment earlier in the game, I think, that Nick Chubb, his track record recently has been 20 yards or nothing, and it's averaging out to 8 or 10 yards a carry. Okay, but it seems like teams are really just stuffing him at the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
And the offense got away, the play calling got away from running the ball. And I think right before that run, I said, why don't we try running the ball again? And next play, Chubb goes off left tackle for 70 yards. So it's like it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the offense. That you really can't count on what's going to happen on a given drive. If we had to put the ball in our offense's hands at the 20-yard line and say we need a field goal to win the game, I still have a really low level of confidence that they could accomplish that, even after scoring 41 points this week. Just the way that they scored all those points.
Yeah, Nick Chubb's averaging 6 yards a carry this season, which it leads the league as far as running backs, and he's not too far behind guys like Lamar Jackson. Lamar is under 7 yards a carry, and Nick Chubb's at 6. So, it's kind of crazy, especially when you look at and see the number of times it seems like that he gets stuffed at the line. It puts things into perspective because how many 20-yard carries he has to make up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
it's a function of how teams are defending us. They're selling out to the run still and making us throw the ball.
Yeah, but Baker only threw the ball 21 times, but it was enough and very efficient though. 2 touchdown passes and no picks. Browns took care of the ball pretty well. Of course, when you win by that many points, you're doing a lot of things right. So
if you look at the game stats, you would think that the Browns lost this game. The time of possession was hugely skewed to the Bengals. The first downs were hugely skewed to the Bengals. I mean, every stat said that the Bengals won this game. It's just because we scored on so many short drives, quick scores.
Yeah, and the Bengals moved the ball a lot. They did. Yeah, but there's only one thing that counts, and that's the score.
Final score. That's true.
And it wasn't even close. The Bengals were never really in the game.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think the initial pick 6 probably took the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, I think so.
But then that long pass to DPJ for a touchdown, I think, was the nail in the coffin.
Did that surprise either of you guys that Baker's able to throw a long ball that accurately right now?
Honestly, every time Baker drops back to pass, I hold my breath and say a little prayer. And I have nothing against Baker. I like the kid. It just seems like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. And I don't know, for years I've blamed our quarterback problems on our offensive line, but we got a great line. The O-line is awesome. And then you look at, Odell's running his freelance routes. Well, that's not a factor. And I watched him throw it and I'm like, oh God, please let him catch that. And that, it worked great. But I think,
it was
yeah,
a
I think
perfectly thrown ball.
it was. And, I know he has that in him. I don't know for the life of me how to bring that out all the time. I mean, I don't even know if a coach or a player can execute perfectly that often, but that was beautiful. And now, like, we've got results. Now make them repeatable results, and we'll go places with them.
The 18-yard throw to David Njoku in the fourth quarter, the last touchdown, was another example of a really great throw by Baker, of more than 5 or 6 yards.
Right.
And that length is where he tends to have problems. Anything from 10 to 30 yards, he seems to struggle with. With the deep ball, he's pretty good with the deep ball. Always has been. And you see the coaching staff, steering him toward the shorter stuff. It's the intermediate things that I think have always kind of given him trouble. And that 18-yard ball, I would put it in that category, and I thought he threw it really well. So that one surprises me more than the deep ball to DPJ.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a lot of accurate deep balls since the shoulder injury. That's kind of what I was pointing out. So it was good to see. It shows that he can do it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad that DPJ is involved, and I know he's the number 2 guy now. I wonder, and I'm sure they're bringing Schwartz along slowly, but I would think that we would see him, on some of those patterns at some point too, where Baker's kind of going deep to him. But I'm sure he has more of a comfort level with DPJ at this point. So.
Anyway. who led the Browns in volume of receptions in that game? Jarvis with 3.
Oh yeah,
for 11 yards. For 11, nobody else had more than 2.
Yeah, he really spread it. Well, I mean, he only completed 14 passes.
It's not a volume passing offense.
No, it's not,
especially when you score that quickly. So,
right.
No, they scored 41 points and he completed 14 passes. I mean, that's
right.
And Nick Chubb only carried the ball 14 times.
Exactly.
I mean,
this game is a real outlier to determine anything about our offense, I think.
Yeah, you can't look at the numbers and say, oh, well, this is how they scored those points. So you look at it and say, what? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But let's see. I got to do a weekly Miles update. Miles gets a sack and a half, and I know Shelley is a huge Miles fan.
Yeah.
So Miles is up to 12 sacks on the season. The team record is 14. The NFL record, and this is interesting. I was looking, and the NFL record is held by Michael Strahan at 22.5, but that record is kind of in question, a little tainted because Strahan, I think, broke Mark Gastineau's record by, I don't know, a half or a sack when Brett Favre possibly took a dive and gave him a sack, like the last game of the season. So Gastineau, wants the record, but Pro Football Reference just went back this past summer and reviewed tape of Bubba Baker's rookie season in 1978, and they say that he had 23 sacks that season. So they're saying that's the unofficial record. Anyways, so Miles, if Miles has another Miles day, he could tie or break that record, in New England or if it's not against the Pats, could definitely be against the Lions. But he's definitely on track to be right up there near these NFL records, given his current pace. So
the
that's
sack machine in that Bengals game was Troy Hill.
Yes. Yeah, oh my God. That was fantastic.
I don't want to hear any more crap about Joe Woods not putting pressure on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
When he has personnel and guys healthy,
Right.
they get pressure on the quarterback and they get sacks in bunches.
I think people need to realize that this is the NFL, that you're not going to hold every team to 10 points. Every time the Browns give up a play, there's a tweet about something about we need to fire Joe Woods.
Yeah.
Right, you guys. I mean, geez, we just held the Bengals to 16 points, and they've been putting up 30 a game.
Yeah.
Right.
Let the guy get used to the guys he has. Especially when he has most of them healthy, like he did out there Sunday.
Yeah.
Man, it was a pretty good defensive effort, to say the least.
For sure.
And it's not the first one this season either. They've had at least they've had at least 4 really good defensive games. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but I mean, obviously the game against Denver was good, and the game against the Bears and the Vikings come to mind, where the defense played very well.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to give up points sometimes. It's just how it is. Even the best defenses give up 30, 40 points every now and then. It just happens. I mean, the Ravens defense gave up 40 to the Bengals. Are they getting rid of their defensive coordinator?
It's a
Seriously.
pass-friendly league. No, it's a pass-friendly league. You're right.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, that just underscores how important it is to put pressure on the quarterback in a variety of ways, and how important it is to have healthy defensive backs.
Right.
Let's just put it out there. Denzel Ward probably had the best game of his career against the Bengals. And when Denzel plays like that, the Browns defense is just a different defense. He can elevate everybody else on that defense to another level when he plays that way. And I don't know. I think we saw on Sunday that he was the engine that drove that defensive effort. You say what you want about, he gets hurt, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But when he's out there, he is a huge difference maker.
He is. And I think you're right as far as elevating guys, because, I mean, just look, and I'm not saying Greg Newsome's not played well or anything anyways, but, he played a very, very nice game.
Yeah.
So, I think these guys will feed off each other. But I think you're right with Denzel.
Yeah, he's a spark for that defense.
That's a good term, Shelley. He's a spark. He gets everybody else jazzed up to go out and play at another level.
I mean, you saw that play and you just felt the air go out of the stadium, and you felt the desperation on the part of the Bengals. It was a literal game changer.
Yeah, I was trying to look. I mean, because he was on Jamar Chase, who has been, the whole game.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to find the stat real quick to see what Jamar Chase's numbers were for the game,
he pretty much got shut down.
I think he had two or three catches, not for much, and he
had 6 catches for 49 yards, but
6 for 49.
He was a non-factor. Okay. He was a non-factor.
No, he wasn't a factor. I mean,
and
this is a guy
he dropped the ball several times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he's been tearing it up. I mean, he's touchdowns and yards. I mean, he came into the game with almost 800 yards receiving and I don't know, 7 to 10 touchdown catches. So
I think our guys were in his head from that very first series.
I think so.
He wasn't the same player.
No, he wasn't. So, just a great game by the Browns. So we come off that game, and the Browns Andrew Berry. The word gets out that the Browns have extended Wyatt Teller, and 4 years, $56 million, $28 million guaranteed. And I put out a tweet that some people read as thinking I didn't like the signing, because I said it kind of surprised me a little bit. I just didn't think Wyatt Teller would be the first guy they would sign, because I thought it meant that, maybe somebody else wouldn't get signed. But anyways, after Wyatt Teller, they signed Joel Bitonio, and you know what? I'm thrilled that they signed two guys on the offensive line. So Shelley, I'm going to let you go first on this. What were your thoughts, when you first heard about the Wyatt Teller signing, and then when you heard about the Joel Bitonio's extension today?
I was a little surprised, but then when you stop and think of like how well those two are rated, it was kind of a moment of rejoicing, like, oh, thank God we're still getting it right with these decisions. I think I've just been a fan for so long that I always kind of live looking over my shoulder. Okay, that was great. Now what's going to happen? But yeah, I think, again, I don't care who your quarterback is. He can't play if he's laying on his back. So that has always been what I thought the team needed, like, get the O-line. Sure, fill everybody else in around it, but you just can't do anything without a strong line. And to see those two signed, I was just, I like the big lineman guys. They're fun, and they look so happy when they get it right. I don't know, a little bit of the mom in me, like, good boys. But yeah, I was a little surprised, but just damn happy. Like, good, you got these guys. Now nail down some more that we can't live without.
I got to go back to the Bengals game for a minute. One of the coolest parts in the game was after Nick Chubb's 70-yard touchdown run, when they showed Wyatt Teller and the other offensive linemen all talking and just smiling and just having a blast because they created those openings for him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Just how thrilled those guys were to do that. That was just really, so. So Jeff, I'll let you weigh in on both of those signings and your feelings.
Well, people who have listened to this podcast over the last couple of years will remember all the conversations that you and I have had about potentially re-signing Wyatt Teller.
It's come up a lot.
I mean, he to me was sort of the wild card in how this roster is going to be structured over the next 4 or 5 years. If you go out and pay top dollar for a guard, it's great that we're keeping our homegrown talent, and I love investing money in the line, but it does have sort of a ripple effect in terms of where you can spend money elsewhere. This still is a salary cap league, so if you're going to pay Wyatt Teller like he's number 3 in the league, and then you end up having to sign Joel Bitonio to a contract where he's number 1 in the league in terms of guards. Bitonio is the top paid guard now, and Treader's the number 3 paid guard now. I mean, that's just not sustainable throughout your entire organization. Okay, and I'm glad to see it, like I said, but it just makes me think that we're going to have to sacrifice somewhere else. Now, the timing is the other thing that I find interesting about this. Doing this now in the middle of the season, right after all this, conversation around, letting go of our number 1 receiver and so forth. It feels a little bit gratuitous to me that they're doing it right now, to sort of, create a new diversionary conversation. But that's good marketing for an NFL team. I would have been less surprised if they had done this in the off season. But right now it seems a little bit, the timing is a little bit strange to me, because I think most players don't even want to have contract conversations during the season. Like Joe Bitonio mentioned something about that. You know, that if it wasn't done by the end of training camp, he didn't want to know anything about it. So he didn't even hear about this until he was walking off the practice field or something. So, you know, again, it's been a long time since we've extended players here. We're typically watching them walk away. So that's a great thing. It makes me wonder what impact this is going to have on the roster, you know, over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I have to give you my take on this, is that I think the timing is pretty intentional, and I think a good part of it is the way the salary cap is going to go up over the next several years. And, you know, right now, let's just look at the 22 salary cap is going to be $208 million, and in 23 it goes up to $225 million. 24 it goes up to $256 million. These are projections. I don't know if these numbers are locked in. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on the salary cap, because I've looked at this before and studied it before, but it hasn't been recently. So I am not an expert on this. So guys, with what's happening with the salary cap, with it going up like that, I really do believe that the timing of this was pretty intentional, because I think the longer they wait, you know, I think, you know, I'm kind of seeing that the value looks better down the road, but I also kind of feel like the price could maybe go up too. So, and I think the guaranteed money for Teller, especially the $28 million, you know, obviously to us that's a lot of money, but when you're talking about, you know, one of the top guards in the league, you know, it's not a major commitment. That's kind of how I look at it. And we really don't know about the guaranteed money to Bitonio. I still don't think that number's out yet. So, you know, I just kind of look at where things are going with the salary cap, and I think the Browns must have a good handle on feeling like these are going to be good deals for them. And you have to like the guys that they're locking up too.
Oh,
you know,
for sure.
Definitely. So, you know, I mean, it looks like they just let some money out the door and they're spending money, kind of like what you said, Jeff, that maybe these are, you know, maybe like, what do you want to say? Public affairs moves, you know,
a little bit diversionary, maybe.
Yeah, and that could be, but you know that the timing could be right also. You know, we'll see. I mean, you really don't know until you get you get down the road and you see what other guys are re-signing for, you know, and then you find out how good of deals these are.
Yeah. No, I'm not at all against us, you know, keeping our all-pro level players. That's a great thing. I mean, I like what they did with Miles. I like what they did with Chubb. You know, these are two key components of the offensive line, and that's great. You know, it's just like it had said, we've talked about this a lot in the past, you know, in the off season, about, you know, where the money goes with all these different guys and who is most easily replaced. And, you know, when you've got a great offensive line coach like Bill Callahan, you know, can you plug in other pieces without a huge drop off? You know, hopefully we with all these guys on board, we're still developing depth for down the road. But, you know, as we've seen, guys get hurt, guys miss games, you know, so you need to have, you know, those guys coming up at the same time. So I think they're great signings. I just wonder, you know, what that means we're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But I mean, you got to feel like they're still going to fill in somewhere. You know, I don't know if there's a good chance that the center of the future is on the roster somewhere, right now, but maybe not. Maybe they still draft somebody to play center. Maybe one of their top picks in the upcoming draft will be the guy who's going to be the right tackle of the future. So
Right.
They're still going to bring guys in for Bill Callahan to work with, and if he's able to develop guys to take those spots who are already on the roster, then all that much better. But he's
Right.
He's definitely helping with the guys who are able to step in and play like Blake Hance and those guys.
Right.
Who I know you're a fan of, Jeff. So
I love Blake Hance. I mean, I still like James Hudson. I think he is the developmental swing tackle who could replace Jack Conklin in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's great to have young guys like that in the pipeline.
I mean, Blake Hance obviously he's not. I don't think people see him as a tackle. So, but he's playing tackle, and I think he's held his own out there for a position he's probably really not supposed to be playing. So,
well, with the loss of Chris Hubbard, the Browns really needed somebody to step up, and you got to give Blake credit for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Definitely. So the Browns have some guys on the COVID list, and I still don't know if we're real close to a resolution on this. I guess we're waiting on tests, but most of the running back room, I think, is still on the list.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the Dearness Johnson show. If unless Bill Belichick decides that he's going to, put 8 guys in the box the whole time and try to get Baker to throw, which I think is probably going to happen, right? He's probably not going to let the Browns run the ball, I would think. Even with one running back, I'm not going to say even with Dearness Johnson because we know what he can do.
Right.
But even when you're down to one running back, I think there's a good chance he still tries to stop the run and make Baker throw. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully somebody else will, get off that list and be available. But if not, I think the Browns are going to be okay because I think you got to feel like the Browns are going to have to throw the ball to win this game anyways, right, guys?
Pretty much.
Yep.
So let's look at this game a little bit. The Browns against the Pats. Both teams are 5-4, and the Browns, I think people would have expected them to have a little better record. The Pats, starting a rookie quarterback, 5-4 is pretty good, but when you got the old ball coach there, I guess they always find a way. So, what can you say? They're 5-4, same record as the Browns. They seem to be, just very similar stats and everything. I don't know really what to make of this game because the Browns just seem to have a lot more talent, but I think that's typical of the Patriots team. You don't look up and down the roster and say, "Oh man, this guy's really good." It's more about the play that Belichick gets out of the guys, generally than specific players a lot of the time. So I'm going to kick it over. I guess I'll let you start, Shelley. What do you see in this game against the Patriots?
One thing I'm really concerned about is the fact that the past 2 games, the Pats have had a pair of pick sixes, and I think if they're going to force Baker to throw, I'm really concerned about, them trying to go for 3 in a row with I guess that's some sort of a league record. I have no idea. But also their top guys are all, like their top defenders, they're all in the top 15 in the league right now, all 6 of them. And I find that their defense just concerns me. I guess, Mac's a good rookie quarterback, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And hopefully our guys are going to be able to make some moves, if they don't hold Miles, which is, ridiculous
if they don't
to say. I mean, I can wish for anything I want, but yeah, that young man's getting held like a prom date. But yeah, their defense, that concerns me, not because they have any specific standouts, but it seems like they really have put it together to function well as a unit. And no, if you get Baker standing there long enough, then we're starting to talk about holding penalties, and we're starting to talk about sacks, and good God. And if he rushes the throws, then we're talking about the interceptions or the pick sixes or whatever. So that's where I am. I don't like their defense. It scares me.
Yeah, I don't think their defense has been completely consistent throughout the season. So I think that's one positive for the Browns. The Pats, I mean, the defense for the Patriots has been good, but it's not been, it's not been locked down game in and game out. I think they've had good games and not so good games. So that's one positive. Anyway, so Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, the Pats are starting a rookie quarterback, and he's probably overachieving like they are as a team, and we're underachieving a little bit as an organization right now. Yeah. But this is a game that we're supposed to win. Coming into this season, we thought that the fact that
regardless
the Patriots
of point spread or anything,
right?
Else.
And when you look at the stats, I mean, these are two fairly evenly matched teams from a points and points surrendered standpoint, points scored and points surrendered, yards per game, all that stuff is fairly close. They've turned the ball over more than we have. We've committed more penalties than they have. But really, I think Shelley's accurate in saying it comes down to the defenses. The Patriots defense versus our offense, which struggles at times when they shut down our run game, and then our defense against their rookie quarterback. So, if our defense plays like it did against Cincinnati, you would think we've got a pretty good shot in this game.
Yeah, and I would agree. Yeah. And it's no offense to Mac Jones, but the Browns just did a heck of a job against Joe Burrow, and I mean he threw for his, he got his yards, okay, but the Browns essentially stopped him when they needed to, and Mac Jones isn't anywhere close to Joe Burrow in his ability or his numbers. He's got 10 touchdown passes, 7 picks. Completing 68% of his passes. They're respectable numbers for a rookie. He's not hurting the team, too awfully bad or anything like that. But he's not really the guy who's going out and winning games for them.
Right.
So you hope the Browns defense can hopefully victimize him. In some way, that would be my hope.
Yeah, I mean, stepping up the pressure against young quarterback is always a good idea, and forcing him into some errors and turnovers. Joe Woods has come out and said that he wants to do more of that. Hopefully, he's got healthy personnel now, and can make that happen.
Well, I mean, the Pats have only given up 17 sacks. That's that's not a lot. No. I don't have their schedule in front of me. I don't know who all they've played, off the top of my head or anything. So I don't know if they've played a lot of teams that with solid defensive lines that create a lot of pressure or anything. But only giving up 17 sacks in 9 games is it tells you that their offensive line's playing pretty well. So that may be a challenge for the Browns, but hopefully they're up for it, and hopefully they can put pressure on them, throughout the game. But
they played the Chargers close. They beat up on the Jets before that. They lost a high-scoring game to the Cowboys. I think there are some similarities to how the Browns have played. They're a team that's supposed to be rebuilding right now. We're supposed to be a team with the best roster in the league. So,
right.
On balance, we should be the better team here.
Right. And as I was talking about New England's defense, I could have very well been speaking about the Browns' defense as far as not being consistent.
Right.
And having shut down some teams and not other teams. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see which units show up for which teams. The Pats pretty typically or you would think, even with a rookie quarterback, are going to get to a point in the season where they're playing fairly consistently under their coaching staff. We'll see. We'll see about the Browns. Hopefully, as you guys have said, hopefully we're to the point that we're not doing these 180's back and forth with the Browns.
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's left right now, really. I mean, everybody's proven what they can do. Now we have to see them do it consistently.
Right.
Yeah, that is right. And the Browns have at this point in the schedule is kind of between that Bengals game where even Kevin Stefanski said that the Browns, essentially he said they had to get a win, okay,
right,
that they were playing for their lives, and so now they got this game which feels like the
next must win.
Yeah.
Well, they're all must wins, right?
Right.
Every week's a must win, or somebody's got to be fired, right?
According to Brown's Twitter, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Who loses their job this week because the Browns lost? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but they get the nice win against the Bengals in a game that they really needed in order to to go above 500 and feel like the season's not lost. At pretty much the halfway point. Now they got this game, which kind of feels like it's Kevin Stefanski kind of battling the old ball coach, and can he play chess with Belichick with two teams that statistically anyways look pretty even, even if the talent doesn't look that way, and can they put these two wins together to get to a Detroit game that they should win, that should hopefully be the one game on the schedule all season that should be a win for sure, because after that it's rough. It's rough after that. Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
There's no gimmies there. The Browns might win some of those games big, but you're not going to walk in thinking, oh, they got this one.
No.
Well,
I don't think I've ever walked in thinking that.
No.
The good news is the way the AFC looks this year, 9 wins is probably going to get you a wild card spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got 5. We need 4 more.
Well, it would be good to have 7 wins, through the Detroit game now. You only need a couple more, right?
That would make it that much easier.
Yeah, it would, because you just don't know. The Browns have had some battles with the Ravens. Those games will probably be close, but the Ravens have I think have gotten the better of the Browns. Actually they split last year, didn't they? Or did they lose both of them last year? Because last year they lost the first game, And then the second game was that really high scoring game, but I can't even remember who won that game.
I think we almost won, but ended up losing at the end, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was the game where they gave up a bunch of points right before halftime, I think. Gave up like 2 or 3 touchdowns right before halftime when the Browns were up. So the Browns have played tough against the Ravens. We'll see what happens. Those games will really be battles.
Right.
Raiders, you don't know what you're getting. Packers is kind of the same, and then you got Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Which realistically, you hope those are wins, but you can't count either one of those as wins. You're going to Pittsburgh, and then you got Cincinnati at home, who's going to be pretty mad about the way they played in that first game. And, if they win more games, they might have something on the line there too.
Right.
So, I'm going to bring up this penalty chart that I sent to you, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I know you don't want to talk about it. Because I know I always sound like the guy who's complaining about penalties when I just don't think that penalties are administered in an even fashion in the league. And I know how it works. I know that the good teams get more calls. I really don't understand why that is, or why teams earn that. Because if you have a penalty, if you do something that's a penalty, it should be a penalty.
Right.
Okay, but this chart shows which teams essentially, they do it by points per game. Which teams are hurt the most and which teams benefit the most by penalties. And of course, a lot of this, it is self-inflicted. So it's not like I'm crying that the Browns never, everyone's against the Browns. Okay. I know the Browns making a lot of mistakes and penalties that they need to fix. It's that extra crap, the bad calls,
right.
or
the no calls.
Yeah, and the no calls, the stuff that always goes against the Browns, or that a call that the Browns wouldn't get that somebody up at the top of this list would get that I don't understand. And the Steelers are at the top of this list. And, I don't know year to year if this list changes. I don't even know if anybody's ever done this list before.
I don't know.
But, and there's really no order to this list other than the Browns being at the bottom and the Steelers being at top. I mean, the Buccaneers are second from the bottom. You would think that Brady would get all the calls.
Right.
He doesn't.
Sure.
And the Falcons are second from the top,
which
is a kind of a surprise. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just when you can put this much disparity in penalties, it just seems to me that there's kind of something a little bit wrong in the league.
For sure.
So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll move on to other stuff. Jeff, I know you don't like it, so go ahead. Hit me with it.
There's 2 parts to this. The first part is you control what you can control, and that is the self-inflicted stuff. And the Browns have not done a good job with that this year. They did, I thought, a really good job with it last year. This year, for whatever reason, there's been a lot of self-inflicted stuff. The second part of that is, the earning the benefit of the doubt from the officials. And this exists in every sport. There are great hitters in baseball who, get a bigger strike zone. There are basketball players who get the benefit of the doubt regarding fouls. I think in football, there's those calls that are judgment that, I don't know how an official can remember, if he's thinking about whether to call a play, who he's calling it on, who he isn't. It seems like that's too much to think about. If I'm officiating a game, I'm just going to call what I see. But it just seems to work out that way, that, if there is a judgment call, it tends to go for the players that have the better reputation in the league, maybe the teams that have more longevity in their systems and so forth. I don't know who makes those arguments at times. If it's the coach in the linesman's ear, or what makes that happen. But there definitely are situations where teams like the Steelers, teams like the Patriots, who have these consistent staffs and track records, just seem to benefit from certain calls. And then there's the third case of just guys just blatantly blowing calls,
Right.
and then they go into review and they still get it wrong. So,
yeah, I mean, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know me well enough. I'm not going to complain about it. It's just part of the game, and we have to control what we can control, and that is cut out the mental mistakes. Not knowing the snap count. Not paying attention to where we're supposed to be, those kinds of things. And I think the rest of that stuff over the course of time will take care of itself with this franchise. But I think we're going to have to pay our dues for a little while.
Shelley, what do you have?
Oh, I mean, he's not wrong. You're not wrong, Jeff. Everything you said is right. I guess I'm just naive enough to say, but damn it, that's not right.
That's where I am.
I mean, and I know that sounds naive, and I'm not 12, I promise. But when I look at these things like week after week, and not even just the Browns, if you guys watched Monday Night Football, you saw all that crap. And let me bump into you and throw a flag on you because I can. He had his hand on that flag way before any of that happened. I don't know. I feel like
you're talking about the taunting.
The taunting, and then he walked I can't remember the player's name now. But
the
then
official claims that it had nothing to do with the bump, that he was getting ready to throw the flag for the taunt, which was a questionable call anyway.
Yeah, because staring at off into space is very taunting.
Right.
I don't even.
Now we can't look mean at other players.
On the taunting
we can't
call.
look mean. Yeah.
Like, okay, but Watt can blow kisses at the Bears bench. Sure, that's fine. Love all around.
Yeah, that's not taunting. That
goes back to the idea of interpretation that changes from year to year. And it's, all the things we talk about with catches and everything else.
Yeah.
Asking officials to interpret things differently from year to year, you're just asking for those kinds of trouble.
You really are.
Situations. You're going to have difficulty.
I don't think they should be interpreting too many things. Especially subjective. I mean, okay, it's a hit, it's not a hit. It's a hold, it's not a hold. You can't, get inside a player's head. Maybe Watt was blowing kisses to his friends in the stands. But you look at it and you go, what a jackass. I just wish there was some accountability, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Because, I mean, do either of you guys know? I've been trying to find out all week. Do the refs answer to anyone beyond the 32 owners and Goodell? How does that even work? I would love to know how that works, because it seems like there isn't any accountability.
There's a league head of officiating, I believe. And I know officials have been reprimanded for missed calls, for things, that don't measure up to NFL standard. I know that's happened in the past. Okay. I think as fans, we probably expect a lot more retribution against officials for something that happened to our team.
I don't want to burn the guys.
Right.
I just want them to get it right.
Right.
I just want them to call things evenly, and get it right as often as they can. I don't expect them to be perfect.
No.
Right. No, I think
I
there's
want
a
them to
review
call it
process.
The same way on both sides. I want consistency. is pretty much
the
it.
best officials generally get rewarded with postseason assignments, Super Bowl assignments, and so forth. Yeah. So there is sort of a rewards system for being good at your job in officiating. So I think these guys have an incentive to be bad. It just sort of happens that way a lot.
Yeah, I just struggle with seeing Miles held all the time.
Every stinking play.
Every play, and they look the other way. And
yeah, you know what? I think this is a quarterback and offense driven league. And if you throw a flag every time Myles Garrett gets held, eventually he's just going to terrorize the quarterback position to the point
that's what we want.
Right. But that's not what the NFL wants.
I know. They want their damn money. I know.
Well, they don't want quarterbacks, laying on their back. They want quarterbacks throwing touchdowns, So I think there may be a bit of a directive there that, we don't let defensive ends just have a clear path to the quarterback. We're going to give our tackles a little bit of leeway in terms of how they slow down the top defensive ends and edges in the league.
But are they doing that to other guys too? I mean, is Aaron Donald getting held and not getting calls as often as Miles is? That's something I would like to know.
Well, it might have something to do with, the physicality of the player. Miles just moves in ways that other guys can't.
Right.
And, when it comes to being able to block him, you got to go pretty deep into your bag of tricks to figure out how to slow him down.
But shouldn't that be the benefit of having a Myles Garrett? Someone who can't,
he leads the league in sacks, Shelley. So
I know, but can you imagine?
Well, imagine if he wasn't held all the time.
Yeah, could you imagine his sack count right now if he actually got half of those calls?
That's true.
It would be insane.
Right.
I don't know. I guess. Well, obviously, I'm never going to be impartial when we're talking Myles Garrett, but just across the board, if you can obtain a ridiculous talent at any position, there shouldn't be any leeway given. Oh, well, he is such a good player that we'll just let you hold him. It just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. I don't know.
I agree. And if he's the only guy that's really being treated this way to this extreme, then it's just wrong. Okay. And I understand what you're saying, Jeff, but if other teams are allowed to hold him like this and it's not happening to some of the other top guys because they don't have the same bend and the same speed as Miles, then they should be calling holding, and other teams should be taking penalties and marching backwards, and they should be forced to have to double and triple Miles on every play and see what happens to their offense.
That's the beauty of having him is he's got to be double and tripled. And then you have, you'd send Troy Hill, you send Clowney, you send whomever. And I can't, I don't know. I spent too many years as a teacher. I like fair. I don't know. I can't tell you why. It will never sit with me.
I'm with you. I mean,
I just have a feeling that guys like TJ Watt think they're held on every play too.
He might.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's why I would like to see somebody.
I want to watch Arnold. Or film.
Somebody impartial kind of look at a comparison with Miles and Watt, and just throw a few other guys in there. Be very interesting to look at.
We need a deeper film study on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if it's happening around the league, then I understand it's still wrong, but at least I can see where it's coming from.
Right.
So okay, enough penalty talk. I know that was not fun for you, Jeff.
You feel better now?
Sticking with us, yeah, definitely. So
a little bit.
So the Browns go to New England like they always do because it's the only place the Pats will play them. They won't come to Cleveland apparently, so we always have to go up to New England and where they can pull out their bag of tricks if they have to or whatever. So
the last time the Patriots played here was in 2016, and the results were sort of similar to the Cincinnati game, but on the other side, the Patriots whipped us up pretty good, 33-13.
Well, 2016. That's before the Renaissance. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, we don't play them that frequently. It's every 3 years.
Yeah. It just seems like it's I knew they played them once here fairly recently, but before that, it seemed like all the meetings have been in New England. Maybe it is every other year, every other time here, but it just seems like it's hardly ever that they come here. So, anyways, kind of a big game. I kind of see it as they're all big, but I kind of see it as a big game for Stefanski. If he's, if they're able to win this game, it's kind of a notch in his belt that he's able to, go toe to toe with Belichick and stuff. The stuff about Belichick having coached here really is so long ago. I don't think it matters anymore. I don't think anybody really.
Yeah, they are the last two coaches to take the Browns to playoff games.
Oh,
wow. Like that.
How about that?
I don't know. I read something about that. Like,
nice.
Okay.
Sounds like a Tony Romo fact.
Yeah, that's
like
probably exactly where I heard it from.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens in this game. I guess the over/under is 44.5, and the Browns are getting 2.5 in this game, Jeff.
That's what I've seen. Yep.
Okay. So you guys ready to give some prognostications on this one?
Sure.
All right, Shelley, you want to go first?
Sure. Even though their defense scares me, and Belichick is Belichick, I'm going to go for our guys 21-17, and I don't even know why, because I'm actually really nervous about this one.
Yeah, understand, but I like how with the Browns having more points. That's good. So Jeff, are you sticking with the over this time or what?
Just barely. 24-21 Browns.
Okay, is this a field goal at the buzzer?
I think it's a last second Chase McLaughlin field goal that wins this for us.
All right.
Cardiac kid style. Nice.
Yep.
I'm too old for that this time.
I think we all are.
It's not up for that.
Well, it hasn't been in our DNA so far. So we have to get all of these scenarios out of the way at some point this season. So winning on a last second field goal we haven't done. So let's make that this week.
If it's a win, it's a win.
True. Yeah, I'll take a win anyway. But despite what happened last week and me picking against the Browns and them winning, gosh, I'm almost tempted to just pick the opponent the rest of the year. But I just have a good feeling. I think the Browns offense is humming a little bit better, and I know the defense helped them out. I just really like what they did against Cincinnati, and I think I think that they'll carry some of that into this game and getting JOK back and stuff. I think the defense is going to play pretty well. So I've got the Browns winning 27-19, just a random kind of score. But I guess I'm going over
with the over as well.
I am going over this time. I don't know why. I just feel like it might be a little, that we might see a few more points scored than what people are expecting. So that's without knowing what the weather's going to be.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, I don't know what the weather's going to be.
52 degrees at Gillette Stadium.
52?
52?
Yeah. I'll stick with my score 27-19. 27-19. So we all picked the Browns, which, yeah, similar scores. Not always a good sign, but we love our Browns, and we're gonna pull for them all the way. So hopefully we see a good game out of them. So
yes.
All right, Shelley, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Nothing really. You know, I'm never going to get my officiating dream of, fairness, and Miles is never going to not get held, and, but no, just, go Browns, play hard, win, bring home the W and a lobster roll.
Yeah. So Jeff, anything in closing?
Team 180 becomes Team Streak this week.
Yeah.
2 in a row. How
That'll
nice
be
would
great.
that be?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you guys can follow Shelley at Shelley SHELLEY 0514 on Twitter. Read her stuff at The Grueling Truth. This has been the Browns Blitz, and we will catch you next time.